Things Queen Elizabeth has never been allowed to do. Common touch. It may seem strange, but members of the royal family, including Queen Elizabeth, aren't allowed to be touched by the so-called common folk. Indeed, physical contact is one of the great taboos surrounding the British monarch, and initiating it with one of them is generally seen as a huge faux pas. This rule doesn't mean that Queen Elizabeth has literally never touched anyone from outside of her family. Sometimes, she has even welcomed contact with other people in public. For instance, she was once caught on camera with her arm around Michelle Obama. Obama later recalled the moment in her memoir Becoming, writing that she never realized the touch would be such a big deal. She said, "What is true among world leaders is that there are people who handle protocol, and usually the people they're representing don't want all that protocol. So, you wonder, well, who are you doing this for? Because they don't want it, we don't want it. But it's just the way things are." Crossed legs. One of the strictest royal rules the family has to follow has to do with how women are allowed to sit, specifically, that they're not allowed to cross their legs. Royal etiquette expert Micah Meyer, who covered classic royal positions in her book Modern Etiquette Made Easy, explains that she calls the common female sitting position in the royal family the Duchess slant. The sitting position involves keeping the knees firmly together while tilting the legs to the side. Indeed, it's hard to imagine seeing Queen Elizabeth with her legs crossed these days. As she said on the ITV documentary, Queen of the World, sitting cross-legged is actually quite painful. I mean, the only thing I found difficult was sitting cross-legged. For a long period of time it can be difficult. It's quite painful. Still, from the looks of it, she broke the unspoken rule about leg crossing quite a few times in her youth when she was a little more sprightly. Small talk. For people, dinner parties are a chance to sit back, catch up with friends, and enjoy a little good food. For Queen Elizabeth, however, dinner parties have never been that relaxed. She's certainly never had the freedom to choose her conversation partner at formal dinners. The rule is that Queen Elizabeth begins dinner speaking to the person on her right, and then switches to the person on her left. This is a pretty strict rule, too, as Formula One star Lewis Hamilton once discovered the hard way during a dinner at the palace. "So I sat down, and she was to my right, and I started to talk to her, and she was like, 'You speak that way first, and I'll speak this way, and I'll come back to you.'" Bad hair day. There are a number of beauty rules the royals are forced to follow, too. After all, there's a reason you never see paparazzi shots of Queen Elizabeth and her family in their sweats and sneakers. First of all, Queen Elizabeth has never been allowed to grow long nails. So long, colorful nails are an absolute no-no in the palace. Additionally, Queen Elizabeth has to be mindful of her hair and makeup, as the royals must always have neat, healthy-looking hair, while makeup should be modest and natural. There is a little wiggle room with these rules, though, and the Queen in particular is a big fan of wearing lipstick. She even has her own signature pink color, while all of the other ladies in the court select more muted tones. In fact, her passion for lipstick is such that she even had her own shade commissioned for her coronation. The old John Hancock. There's no doubt about it, Queen Elizabeth is about as much a celebrity as you can possibly get. Unlike other celebrities, however, the Queen has never been allowed to sign her autograph. In fact, the entire royal family is banned from signing their names for fans in case their signature is forged later on. In 2020, an old 1954 Christmas card from the Queen and her husband Prince Philip was sold at a staggering £4,500, simply because Queen Elizabeth's signature is so rarely seen. What's in a name? The joy of choosing a baby name is one of the most fun parts about bringing a child into the world. Sadly, Queen Elizabeth has never had the freedom to name her children like most people have. The Queen is mother to 4 children, Charles, Anne, Andrew, and Edward, and while she probably had some say in her children's names, there are a number of traditions and restrictions that likely guided her decisions. Indeed, royal baby names are a pretty serious business. They have to both acknowledge history by paying respects to relatives, while also being fashionable. The complexities of naming a royal baby don't stop with the first name, either, as most royal tots end up with a number of middle names, each paying homage to various relatives. For instance, Prince Charles' full name is Charles Philip Arthur George, Prince Edward's full name is Edward Anthony Richard Louis, and Princess Anne's full name is Anne Elizabeth Alice Louise. Dietary requirements. When it comes to food, the royals have to follow a surprising number of rules and regulations. So, while you may be tempted to think that eating like a king or queen means eating everything your heart desires, this is far from true. Apparently, Queen Elizabeth and her family are never allowed to eat or drink a wide variety of items, including shellfish, garlic, and even tap water. The ban on shellfish is in place in case of digestive issues that can interfere with public engagements. Foreign tap water is also off the menu for the same reason. Other thrones. One of the rules Queen Elizabeth must always follow is to never sit on another monarch's throne. While the opportunity probably doesn't arrive very often, Queen Elizabeth did have to follow the rule on one particular occasion. When she visited the set of the HBO series Game of Thrones in 2014, Queen Elizabeth clearly thought better than to sit on the show's Iron Throne. Actress Maisie Williams, who portrayed Arya Stark on the show, spoke about the incident on the YouTube series First We Feast. She said, "She didn't necessarily refuse. No one said, 'Sit on that chair because it is going to be funny.' We all just sort of smiled and were like, 'Is she going to do it?' She sort of looked and said, 'That doesn't look very comfy.'" Politic opinion. As it turns out, Queen Elizabeth is expected to remain strictly neutral with respect to political matters. This also means that she can't vote or stand for election. Usually, the Queen does a pretty good job of keeping her political views private. But just because she's not allowed to voice them publicly doesn't mean she doesn't have them, and she has actually broken this rule on a few rare occasions. For instance, back in 1976, she let slip her opinions on American independence, allegedly saying, "We lost the American colonies because we lacked the statesmanship to know the right time and the manner of yielding what is impossible to keep." In another instance, the Queen made a thinly veiled political comment about an impending referendum on Scottish independence, saying, "Well, I hope people will think very carefully about the future." Most recently, however, she attempted to encourage potential doubters into taking a vaccination for COVID-19. Having recently taken the vaccine herself, the Queen said, "It is obviously difficult for people if they've never had a vaccine, 'cause they ought to think about other people rather than themselves."